Mothers learning how to deal with tear gas. Students blocking the streets. Security forces cracking down on every protest. And families standing in line for powdered milk. If a government can't feed its own people, then it's useless, says this man. The middle classes are trying to overthrow President Nicolás Maduro. The upper classes are applauding them, but even poorer Venezuelans are discontented. Venezuela's mired in confrontation, and stability is not on the horizon. Over 40 people have been killed on both sides, and each blames the other for the casualties. They're in power, they're operating outside the law and violating the constitution. That's why the people are on the streets. Do we have to tolerate it when they attack us? Do we have to watch as they set our country alight? Gaby Arellano is a popular figure in the well-heeled districts of Caracas. She's one of the leaders of the student protests and believes that Maduro's government has to go, but not because it's socialist. It would be wonderful, she says, if we had socialism here. Hopefully we'll soon have socialism like they have in Chile. But we don't have that here. We only have propaganda instead of real action. Gaby planned to finish her doctorate in history this year, but the protests have taken over. She hardly enjoys a minute's break, spending her days coordinating demonstrations, Skype interviews and student rallies. Her driver is a businessman. Alejandra Benitez has represented Venezuela 3 times in Olympic fencing. She's a committed Chavista, a supporter of the socialist president Hugo Chavez, who died last year. Now she backs his chosen successor, Nicolás Maduro. We remain committed to our system, says Alejandra, and we want to build on the Chavez legacy. We are building something, not destroying. But the opposition don't want to accept that. They destroy streets, houses, they set schools on fire. We don't think that's the way to build up a country. If they want changes, okay, but changes that destroy, changes based on confrontation, that's not real change. Alejandra has not experienced the unrest firsthand in her everyday life. She has only read about it in state media reports. A students' meeting underway at the Technical University. Gaby announces a protest on Plaza Venezuela. And she denounces the biggest problems facing the nation. Over 50% inflation, shortages of milk and flour, the world's 5th highest murder rate, corruption and human rights abuses. As always, the meeting culminates in a call for the Maduro government to go. Gaby believes she was long ago placed under Secret Service surveillance and that she's a potential target of government-supported paramilitary groups. This award-winning youth centre in the southeast of Caracas exemplifies the Chavez ideology. It offers workshops for youths from impoverished districts, spanning music, art and sport. It's open to everyone, not just Chavistas, but of course it identifies itself as socialist. It's clear that it's a socialist collective, she says. Here you learn how to work together in a collective to achieve fundamental social change. And what about those who don't share that ideology? The rally on Plaza Venezuela has been banned. Gaby stays away. She thinks it would be too risky to make an appearance. The students withdraw to the nearby Central University. One of the protesters is identified as a Chavista and almost lynched. A heated argument follows about whether the man should receive medical treatment. He's going in the ambulance, bring him here, shouts one opposition activist. 3 broken ribs, injuries to the face and spine. A majority insist that he receive medical treatment, but a surprising number are opposed. Not far away, a group of Chavistas attack a student from the opposition, beat him up and humiliate him, showing just as little mercy. Later, shots ring out. The opposition call a press conference on Plaza Altamira. Gabi accuses the security forces and armed paramilitary groups of increasingly using terror tactics. She is also asked about the barbaric treatment of the Chavista at the university. I wasn't at the university, but the video clearly shows our friend being mistreated and that other citizens rescued him and saved his life, she says. We don't want another fatality, whether red, green, white, small, large, rich or poor. Not one more fatality, not one more bullet, no more tear gas grenades. We want to live in peace. Every afternoon, Alejandra trains at Central University. Our cameras aren't allowed inside the sports hall. The university is traditionally an opposition stronghold, and Alejandra often has to deal with snubs from her fellow students. Unfortunately, not everyone here has a sporting mentality. Some haven't achieved as much as I have in fencing, she says, and what I do bothers them. On top of that, politics in Venezuela are deadlocked. If someone wants to interview me, they create hurdles. Various permits have to be secured. And that involves going to the university authorities or other authorities, just to make things difficult. It is obvious that it's not easy for her, but she says she tries not to let it get her down. I will continue to fight for people to live together peacefully, she says, despite their different political beliefs. We should get together and talk to each other instead of shutting the doors. This standoff must end. The people should sit down at one table and campaign for peace and harmony. And we should all work together for a more prosperous and better country. I believe in dialogue, but also in freedom and rights, says Gabi. It's difficult to speak to somebody who oppresses you, who persecutes you, who violates the Constitution. Dialogue is only possible in a democratic context. We are willing to take part, but not with those in charge. There are 42 Venezuelans who can no longer participate in dialogue because they are dead, and it's for them that we're taking to the streets and demanding a change of government. After 16 years of the Chavez ideology, the fronts have hardened. You rats, these people shout. Police officers are regularly confronted with such hatred on the streets. Some people go even further, using the widespread support for the protests among the middle classes as an excuse to go on the rampage. It does not take long for the state to respond. Gabi is giving an interview at the independent radio station Radio Caracas. She has an hour to promote the students' cause. The regime has weapons, has all means of repression, and has seized all the wealth of the country for itself. Listeners can take part in the discussion. Most want to put questions directly to the opposition. They don't trust the state media. Our friend was standing by a barricade when the cowards from the National Guard came and attacked and beat him. But luckily, he could be freed. Most callers sympathize with the students. This one says that she prays daily for their safety and protection and urges them to keep on doing what they're doing. The Venezuelans and the students don't believe in a peace like in Cuba. There they live in peace but without freedom. And without freedom and justice, says Gabi, then peace is just an illusion. The church agrees. Peace can only follow from truth, from justice and freedom, one after the other. That's why we're fighting on the streets. With 3 Olympic Games under her belt, Alejandra is now preparing for Rio 2016. Fencing is her sporting passion, but her political heart belongs to Hugo Chavez. Alejandra says he was like a father to her and that she was like a daughter to him. She says this picture was taken on the day Chavez won the election. When her sporting career's over, she plans to work as a dentist. She has already successfully completed her studies. And she has a fully equipped dental practice, purchased with the money she earned as an Olympic athlete. It doesn't cross her mind that the opposition could succeed in overthrowing the government. She believes that the poor will remain devoted to the political ideology of Chavez, and she is convinced the Chavistas will still be in power 5 years from now. In the past, people didn't want to admit that they were Venezuelan, she says. Today, they're proud and they're willing to wear the national colors. They have learned how to fight for their interests, for their country, for their ideals. In 5 years, we will be a very enlightened people who have lived up to our ideals. Part of the population voted for the Chavistas, says Gabi. They believed in them, but they were fooled, and now they support us. We want to ensure that those in power pay. Dialogue could offer a way out of the deadlock, but neither side has been serious about it so far. A dialogue with Maduro, who shoots at us? No chance.